everybody, welcome back to TechOdyssey. So I'm here today to talk about our good friend, the Pixel 6, and how it seems like Google's finally pulling things together. Thankfully, the last two updates haven't been train wrecks, and to my knowledge, they haven't broken anything. And that's not really a bar for success. It's really frustrating we have to have this conversation, but after a couple ill-fated security patches and delays and timing, and just the inherent bugs that were in the phone in Android 12 when it first came out, and I gotta say, I think half of the problems with this phone were because Android 12 was half-baked when they took it out of the oven and they tried to push it out instead of pushing it back to try and meet a deadline. And that's one of the worst problems that you get. And that's how this phone felt from the get-go. Yes, there were nice things about it. There was the nice shiny new sheen and luster of a fancy new Pixel phone. They changed everything. New camera, new design, new camera bar on the back, big screens, big batteries, lots of stuff that we didn't really have before in the previous Pixel phones. And it's like they tried to swing for the fences and then they tripped over their own shoelaces trying to get to second base. And that's really how it felt the first couple of months. There were a lot of frustrations there, a lot of customers and a lot of Pixel fans really frustrated. And then on the other side of the coin, you had so many people that weren't experiencing issues. And I think a lot of that still has to do with some inconsistencies with the hardware and, of course, the operating system. It was very difficult, and I think they underestimated how difficult it was going to be to program for two different chipsets. See, when you have two different chipsets, it's like, okay, there's a V8 in this car and there's a V8 in this car. One's a Ford, one's a Chevy, but they're not identical. So not everything works exactly the same way with the architecture and taking advantage of the processor. So there's a lot of optimization that needs to happen, and that wasn't there when the phone came out. But now, 6 months later, it feels like a pretty finished product in most areas, especially the ones that are having problems like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and the screen and the refresh rate and the connectivity issues. There's a lot. There's like a laundry list there, other than the people not experiencing problems, which we all acknowledge. But there are a lot of people that did, and some people that still are. I still get some people in the comments saying, mine is still broken. And I have a lot less of those than I did over the months and months. It's like as months have gone by, 6 months now, most of that's been cleared up, and I have very few people complaining that they're still having issues. A lot of them saying, I did have issues, they're fixed now. So, taking a look at this in April, having come out in October, and I got mine the middle of October, so I think it's pretty safe to say 6 months old now. I think it's a good phone. I think it still holds up well at $599. I think they need to go ahead and do a price drop, though. I think at least a permanent $50 price drop would help. But then there's another problem. We have the 6A that's coming. It's supposed to be announced in May. So basically a month from now, we should see that announced at Google I/O. And I think we're going to see it probably hit the shelves around July. That's problematic. There's a big concern I have about this and the way they're developing the 6A, because I think it's really going to undercut the sales of the Pixel 6. I put out a video today, or yesterday rather, and you saw it maybe, talking about the benchmarking, and the performance of the Pixel 6a is going to be essentially identical to the Pixel 6. So from a performance standpoint, if you have all three of the phones, whether you get a Pixel 6a probably around $400 something or a Pixel 6 Pro at $899, they run the same. So typically when you have a lower or mid-range phone, you get a lesser processor. Except, of course, when you look at Apple and what they're doing with the iPhone SE. But that's going to be a big challenge there, because you've got people that might migrate toward a Pixel 6a at maybe around $400, also about the same thing for the iPhone SE 2022. However, a Pixel 6a that's going to look like this with a much bigger screen, a big 5,000 milliamp battery. It sounds like it might have the same camera setup essentially as the Pixel 5, which, I mean, is perfectly good, but they're definitely going to dumb the phone down in certain areas. More than likely, we'll see a 60 hertz refresh rate instead of the 90 you get here, and then the bump up to 120 on the Pixel 6 Pro. So there are differences, but when the consumer goes in a store and looks at it and they go, okay, this phone looks just like this phone, it looks like this phone, the Pixel 6a, the 6 and 6 Pro, you're telling me I'm going to get 90% of the same experience with the 6a. Why should I go buy the 6 or the 6 Pro? And then you're going to have a salesman there going, well, that's a good question. And then you're going to have a consumer there going, that's also a good question. I'll take it. That poses a problem. And also why I don't think we will see a Pixel 6 price drop. And the thing they have to worry about is the Samsung S21 FE. The S21 FE is a $699 MSRP phone, but you can find it lots of places. I've had people messaging me all over the place. I got a good trade-in deal. I got it for $300. I got it for $400. I bought it outright for $450. The $599 Pixel 6 right here looked like and was a very good deal when it came out, and Samsung responded very quickly by releasing the S21 FE, and now they've got very aggressive sales and incentives and all sorts of other things to where you can get it cheaper, and much cheaper in some cases, than even the Pixel 6 at $599. So there's going to be a really big mashup going into basically June, July timeframe with the Pixel 6a, the iPhone SE 2022, maybe even the A73 whenever we see that show up from Samsung, which is going to be an even more curious situation because the S21 FE is already be well established and a much better phone probably than all of them, except for the Pixel 6. So the Pixel 6 right now, very good buy still. I think $599. I do feel comfortable recommending it. I know there's a lot of people, even MKBHD said, right now I'm pulling my recommendation on the Pixel 6 Pro. I don't know if he ever reattached that to the phone and said, I think you should go buy this now. But I think a lot of people and a lot of the media and a lot of the thought and the sentiment about the phone has sailed on to where it was at the forefront of the limelight whenever the phone came out. The Pixel 6 and 6 Pro had a lot of fanfare. They had a lot of people really saying this is going to be the phone of the year. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic, even before it showed up, which is always a bad thing for phones. You don't want to set up that level of hype for something before it's come out and before it got tested. And that was a really bad look, maybe even just a month later after the phone came out, where it's like, yeah, that whole phone of the year thing's not looking so good. But now that it's been around for 6 months, I think now is probably the prime time to get one. The unfortunate reality is there's not really a whole lot of incentives out there. And this is the thing with the Pixel 6 phones. They came out and they really undercut the competition, but now the competition has undercut them, and there's not really a whole lot of incentives that I've seen out there to get it cheaper. If there were a lot of ways you could get this free, get it for $399, get it for $449, if they did some special sales, that would be good. But they've cut their own legs out from under them by releasing this Pixel 6a at the same time that you should be looking to get a price drop on this. Even the Surface Duo 2 has gotten a significant price drop on Best Buy and a couple other places where you can get it for $999 now for the 128 model or $1099 for the 256. Once you get into about the 5-6 month life cycle on a phone, that's when you start seeing incentives. That's when you see the marketing teams try and spur ways for people to go buy them and kind of get maybe a second win in the middle of the year, because a lot of the sales happen like the first month or two that the phone comes out, and then it really takes a big dive because you've got new phones coming out, new technology, big price drops on other phones. It makes it, there's always this level of moving things around and competition within the smartphone world. But here at the Pixel 6, I think it's a good phone for $599. I think it's a great device, especially now that we've got all these other issues shored up. I'm still frustrated with them messing with the haptic feedback on it. I really don't even like typing on it that much anymore. It disrupted my typing experience. I used to love it. And now, ever since they changed up the vibration motor and the pattern and all that stuff, I really don't like it. I find myself enjoying typing more on other phones now, so I might have to rescind that back and saying it's one of the best haptic feedbacks out there. And I know there's going to be some mixed commentary on that because some people like the way it is now more. I like the way it was before. I don't like the way it is now. Some people didn't like how it was before, but they do like the way it is now. So it's just one of those things. Overall, there's a lot to like about this phone. If you've been on the fence about it, now is definitely the time to consider getting one, or maybe hold off for the Pixel 6a. If you don't care about the 90 hertz refresh rate, if you want better battery life, if you want probably a more refined experience from the get-go, because when the Pixel 6a launches, it's going to be 6, 7, 8 months after we had all those problems and the software issues with the Pixel 6 and the 6 Pro that have been ironed out now. So start fresh, new device that most people really do like the A series. The A series, I think, has probably been the best selling for the Pixel line of phones up to this point. The 4a probably being the best selling A series phone that they've ever had. Very, very good device. I absolutely loved it. So I'm excited about the Pixel 6a whenever it gets here. Looking forward to it. As things stand, the 6 and the 6 Pro, perfectly good. But there's a lot of competition out there now that wasn't there when the phone came out. It makes you wonder how aggressive Google's going to get with trying to move some of those price points, traded deals, carrier incentives, and things like that, because they need to try and reinvigorate these phones and try and move more units. At the beginning, you saw the Super Bowl commercial. There was ads everywhere. There was so much money they put into marketing, and it seems like a lot of that has really dried up over the last couple of months. So we'll see what happens the second half of the year. Right now, for the midterm, I probably give it like a B- when it comes to the overall grade, just because of a lot of issues that we've had. We'll see what it looks like at the end of the year. But I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to say this is an F series phone. Some people say it's an A series phone. Well, A is in grade, not the actual 6A, but you get the picture. It's been a good phone, not the best one. A lot of that sentiment changed very quickly after the phone came out, but I'm still hanging on to mine. I bought this one. This was not sent to me by Google. And yeah, I think that it's safe to buy. I think there's been a lot of changes. And I think now at the 6-month mark, it's been refined enough to the point where I feel pretty comfortable saying, if you're interested, maybe you can go buy one. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please go down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you want to talk about it, I'm glad to have some lively discussion because I'm sure there will be some. There's a lot of opinions on both sides of the road. This is definitely the most polarizing phone probably of 2022 and 2021. So they definitely made a mark that way. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.